Well, we've been treated to some incredible stuff from the Coalition again this week. After a fortnight's worth of Jacinta Price-fueled drama and infighting, another Liberal with personal leadership ambitions has popped up to try and wedge his own leader. Andrew Hastie, who, if the After Dark crowd had their way, would be running a joint ticket with Senator Price, has decided now's the perfect time to nail his colours to the mast.
If Susan Lee, though, supports net zero by 2050, where does that leave you?
That leaves me without a job.
Go on, elaborate on that. That would be it for you as
I've nailed my I've nailed my colours to the mast, Gary. Like if I go out with a tide in 2.5 years, that's great. You know, I'll get a lot more time with my kids back. My primary mission in politics is to build a stronger, more secure, more competitive Australia. Energy security is a vital input to that. So that's my bottom line. I want to fight for a better deal for my state, for my country.
You've had that discussion with Susan Lee, have you? That you're suggesting.
Well, I haven't. I mean, you asked me.
Well, you're suggesting you're out if the party that you are a member of decides to adopt a status quo on 2050 net zero policy, that you would have to walk away.
Well, I mean, everyone is whispering that anyway, so I may as well just say it out loud. I've nailed my colours to the mast. I went on four corners and I said the net zero policy is a straitjacket for our economy and our country.
On the day Australia's first climate risk assessment was released, which painted a grim yet unsurprising picture for the future if climate change isn't treated seriously, Hastie has decided to essentially lay down an ultimatum to his party leader. Dump net zero or I quit. Hastie has been agitating to dump net zero for a while, but his timing now, well...
Don't you find the timing a tad bit convenient?
Hastie's comments apparently emboldened a few of his colleagues to fall in behind him.
If the Liberals were to adopt net zero by 2050, though, if that's Susan Lee's wish, would you move to the backbench? Would you follow Andrew Hastie and quit?
Well, look, if we just said net zero at any cost by 2050, I think you'd find there'd be a mass exodus. The reality is that most of the members of our front bench and indeed most of the members of our party room are interested in making sure that whatever we do, if it is to retain a net zero by 2050, doesn't come at whatever the cost might be, unlimited cost.
I really find it quite interesting because you might remember, as I've pointed out in the past, it was the Coalition that signed the country up to net zero in the first place.
Our plan to reach what will be our new official target of reaching net zero emissions by 2050, our plan gets the balance right.
Where were all these outspoken Coalition critics then? That's right, they were resting easy because they were the party of government at that stage. Funny, isn't it? No one was threatening to quit then. You may have noticed the subtle rebrand in the language a few of the Coalition talking heads have rolled out in the last little while.
Net zero at any cost. Net zero at any cost. Net zero at any cost.
Net zero at any cost.
Net zero at any cost, which is a nice little straw man people are working hard to build. But let's be real, it's not a policy that's on the table from either major party. I don't think anyone can genuinely argue in good faith that Labor are pursuing a net zero at any cost style policy. If that were true, they would not have continued to approve new coal mines or gas projects. I mean, they wouldn't have approved one of the largest fossil fuel projects in the country's history, a project described as a carbon bomb, if they were about pursuing net zero at any cost, would they?
That was rhetorical.
Labor continue to put the country on a fairly modest pathway toward net zero by 2050, based on the targets it's setting. A 62 to 70% reduction by 2035 was announced this week. It was certainly not as high as many people may have speculated beforehand. The 2035 target was very middle of the road. I've got no doubt that this was political by design. As Albanese said,
and we think we've got the sweet spot. There will be criticism from some who say it's too high. There's some who will say that it's too low.
You can almost see the cogs rotating in his brain.
Here I am in the sensible centre. No one can possibly criticise this without sounding like some kind of extremist.
But let's not kid ourselves. Andrew Hastie's stance isn't about net zero at any cost. He just doesn't seem to believe in the need for net zero full stop. Fundamentally, I'm not sure that he actually believes in human-induced climate change. And whenever he's been asked about it, I'm not sure he's ever actually answered the question outright.
Are you a climate sceptic? And clearly you'll be pushing hard for the Coalition to dump net zero, I take it. Well, what's a climate skeptic? First of all, Andrew, seeing we're just getting on the same page. It's,
okay, do you think
6:45 here?
Do you think climate change is real? Do you think it's occurring?
Yeah, the climate's been changing throughout. Of course, the climate change has been occurring throughout history. The question is, how much does Australia have a role in changing the climate?
For a party floundering around in opposition, Hastie's stance might earn him the support of Advance and the After Dark Brigade, but I'm not sure it's going to help return the coalition to government. Actually, I might be being a little bit harsh on some of the After Darkers here, because I've even seen Paul Murray questioning the wisdom of Hastie's position.
The coalition can no longer afford to still be talking in the words of climate change doesn't exist, it's all BS, the climate's always been changing, because the extreme majority of the country is not in that place anymore.
I can't see how Hastie's ultimatum is going to help the party he's a member of. All I can see it doing is helping to destabilise the party's leader even more, which makes it difficult to see what Hastie's playing at.
How is your relationship with Susan Lee at the moment?
It's fine. We're doing well. I mean, it's perfectly fine.
Okay, but you're not talking.
No, we're in communication.
Okay.
You know, we're not besties on the phone every day as you'd expect. I'm not talking to all my colleagues every day. We're all back in our electorates at the moment doing our jobs.
It's fine, really.
He has made a lot of noise about his future leadership ambitions, but at the same time, I'd say if he wanted Susan's job, he had the opportunity to put his hand up 4 months ago. He didn't.
Timing is really important in political life.
Susan Lee is our leader, and we're doing everything we can to build a platform to win the next election.
This is my leader.
There you go.
And I'm ambitious for him.
Yeah, good on you. Thanks, ScoMo.
Are your policy decisions being held to ransom by colleagues who don't want to see net zero by 2050? I mean, it can't be helpful to have colleagues within your party room freelancing on climate policy when you've yet to really announce what it's going to be for the coalition.
Every single one of my colleagues is contributing to our policy development process, and I made that very clear when I became leader, and those policy processes are well and truly set up and they're underway. We have an energy working group led by Dan Tehan. He's in the US right now looking at the latest developments around nuclear. We've got experts, we've got analysis, we're doing the work. But I repeat, Bridget, every single one of my colleagues is passionate about this issue. They care about the communities they come from. They're hearing directly from Australians. I'm not sure that this government is hearing directly from Australians.
As opposition leader and the person responsible for trying to hold the fragile coalition together, Susan Lee is probably unable to acknowledge that Labor are actually listening to the people. It's the coalition that have their fingers firmly plugged into their ears. Polling consistently shows that the majority of Australians either want more action on climate change or are happy with the path the government's on. In the most recent Newspoll survey, 37% of Australians believe the government should increase climate action, and 25% believe Australia should stick with the current settings. This compares to just 28% who want to slow down climate change action, and the 10% who can't decide what they want. So a majority of those surveyed are either happy with the government's current plan of attack or think they should go even further. There were similar results in another recent YouGov poll. That poll found that 77% of respondents wanted stronger climate action compared to just 13% who thought the government should do less to prevent risks from extreme weather events. This whole thing's kind of ironic really, because Hastie, you may remember from a previous video, did all he could not to run under the Liberal branding last election. Why? Well, it's a question for him. Although I'd assume it was a decision made to maximise his chances of retaining his seat. Regardless, here he is now making a performative net zero song and dance, demonstrating one of the very reasons why the Liberal Party have become electoral poison. This carry on, along with this sort of thing, and all this sort of stuff, is exactly why I reckon the coalition are Australia's seriously unserious opposition.